Today's story is called Only the Best. And through here is the indoor school. The two girls stood by the large heavy doors, peering into the cavernous building. Oh wow. Sophie Gibson stared in awe. The surface looked perfect, and someone had stenciled dressage letters at the appropriate points on the panelled walls. It's even got mirrors. The previous owners had competition horses. Isabel Armstrong reached around and flicked a switch on the wall. Instantly, 4 large floodlights burst into life. I'll be able to ride here in the evenings after school in winter, whatever the weather. Sophie thought of the field where she kept Pewter, her steel grey cob. At one end there was a flat bit, which she was allowed to fence off in the summer with electric tape. She'd laid out a few orange cones as markers, and that's where they did their schooling. In the winter it was too wet and muddy, and besides she needed all the grazing, so there was nowhere to school. Isabel clicked off the light and pushed the door closed. Now I've got Marquis, I'm going to start doing one-day events. She paused, fished her phone out of her pocket and scrolled for a moment. There's one in March. She turned the screen towards Sophie. You could have a go with Pewter. Sophie gazed at the details. It's too far away. We couldn't hackle that way. You could come with us in the lorry. Marcus would probably travel better with company. Sophie wasn't sure if Pewter had ever been in a lorry. She'd had him as an unbroken 3-year-old, and he'd arrived in a cattle trailer. She could still remember the tightness in her chest when they pulled the ramp down and Pewter's lovely face turned towards her inquisitively, straining as far as his lead rope would allow, his ears tipped forward. I'll send you the link to the event, said Isabel, taking her phone back and tapping the screen. Sophie felt the buzz of her phone in her pocket as the message arrived. Thanks, I'll take a look. My instructor has worked out a training programme for us, Isabel went on as they walked back to the stable yard. That's partly why Dad was so keen on buying this place. Having the right facilities makes it so much easier to keep up Marcus's schooling right the way through the winter. Sophie was barely listening. She was imagining Pewter cantering a perfect 20-metre circle at sea in that lovely indoor school, before making a transition to trot and changing the rein on the diagonal. You'll have to bring your Dobbin over sometime, said Isabel. I don't suppose he's ever been ridden in a school indoors before. Instantly, all Sophie could imagine was Pewter throwing up his head and goggling at the huge doors and shying at his reflection in the mirrors. That would be great, thanks, she said, not really imagining it would ever happen.